Good morning. My name is Alfonso Cruz, and today I will be discussing the impact of ethical values on decision making. According to Harvard Business Review, approximately 35,000 decisions are made every day. Of course, only about 100 of these are important decisions. But these decisions, especially for those who hold a lot of influence and power, can immensely impact a society. There are many factors that affect decision making. And the decisions we make today affect all of us tomorrow. Ethical values are a factor of decision making that's often overlooked, which brings me to my research question. To what extent do ethical values impact decision making in adults? In this presentation, I will be analyzing the impact of ethical values on decision making, and I will explain why ethical values have a large impact on decision making. In FDR's inaugural address, a College Board provided stimulus. In the first sentence of his speech, he says, "I will address then with a candor and decision which the present situation of our nation impels." What he is saying is that he will address the people of the United States with a decision, a morally needed decision. This connects the idea of ethical values in decision making, showing that ethical values are not only a factor that plays into decisions, it also drives decision makers into making decisions. This model, this ethical decision making model, shows the three main factors of decision making: the context, why are we making a decision; the stakeholders, the people who are affected by the decision, and the decision makers, which is the individual and the people who are affected by ethical values. These three factors are used by the decision maker to create alternate actions or choices for different solutions to their decision. Then the decision maker evaluates each of these options and selects the optimal solution. This shows a double integration of ethical values in the decision-making process. First of all, it affects the decision makers individually. Through their lives, they build ethical values which impacts the options that they decide. And then it impacts how they evaluate those options. For example, if a decision maker values reliability, they are more likely to pick options that they believe are more reliable. And when they evaluate those options, they are likely to be more risk averse than other decision makers. In this graphic, we can see how values impact emotions and how emotions impact decisions. This is an indirect correlation, but emotions can deeply impact decisions, which is why we hear the phrase, "You shouldn't make decisions when you're angry or when you're sad." Ethical values like compassion and empathy can trigger these emotions and make decisions that may negatively impact the decision maker. From the College Board stimulus from Eloise Caldwell, it says, she made the decision to sue the US government due to her ethical value in justice. When she went to a reservation and saw that the Indian people were being starved and the land was being abused by the US government. Her value of justice is what led her to make the decision to ultimately sue the US government. If we refer back to the decision-making model that we looked at earlier, the value of justice would affect her decision to even consider it as an option to sue the US government. And then this same ethical value would then lead her to choose it as the optimal choice, which she otherwise would not have. In conclusion, we showed that leadership, compassion, and justice are three ethical values that impact decisions and decision makers. The implications of this solution is that decision makers need to be more self-aware and consider how their decisions affect their stakeholders. For example, decision makers who are under intense emotions, may not make the best decisions, and that would affect their stakeholders who are holding interest in those decisions. So decision makers need to be self-aware about their emotional states and their ethical biases to make the best decisions possible. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Two questions for you. First up, what information did you need before you began your research, and then how'd you use that?
So before I began my research, I read about the neurological aspects of decision making, so I could connect these different ideas together. Since they both have to do with the psychology of the brain, connecting these ideas through the neurological aspect helped me get a better understanding and find research that directly discusses my conclusion.
Okay, and if you had more time, what additional research would you do on this topic?
If I had more time, I would do additional research on each of the individual aspects, because, for example, justice, that's a very broad topic, which we could dive further in on and see exactly how that affects decision making.